We're in the magnificent city of Valencia for our continuing coverage of the 2024 World Cup circuit. It's actually the middle of a really busy period for athletes looking to end the year on a high. You might recall it was Olympic distance last year, but we're back to the sprint format today. First man being introduced, Antonio Serrazioni, because there is no number one, because as we said, Ms. Lordchuk not here. Serrazioni is due a big performance, isn't he?
He is. He's done well on World Cups this year. Got a second earlier in Hong Kong, but he hasn't really performed on the World Championship circuit since that second in Bermuda back in 2022.
Gabor Faldum, the veteran, I think we can probably call him, but rarely runs a bad race. 158th event today for Faldum, who's now 36.
And he's still doing well. He's had a couple of podiums over the last few years. He runs really well.
Well, there's the man who, as you mentioned, won last year, David Cantaro. Of course, then it was a Olympic distance. It's a sprint today. Now, Callum McCluskey won in Napier earlier this year, first World Cup of the year. He left them hanging for a while, but we are underway. Massive field of 65 men in what is going to be a lightning-quick sprint distance triathlon here in Valencia.
And looking at someone like Callum McCluskey, who won, I think, first World Cup of the year in Napier, wasn't it? Got kind of a shock win. He beat Hayden Wild there, so wasn't really expected to win and had a fantastic run. But he said he had a great start to the year. There was a few results which weren't good, but he said, I've really consolidated, had a great training block, and looking forward to trying to kick on now for this second half of the year.
So passing, or about to pass, that second buoy now. See it getting spun around. They've got to go around it and then to the right. Can't cut underneath it. Can't certainly go inside it.
And this is one of those races that you hear the stories about afterwards, where it'll be like, yeah, where were you when you were around the buoy, or I lost this many positions, and yeah, it's really tricky. See, you get a little bit disorientated, the athletes. They're swimming slightly off course there, meant to be aiming for that orange buoy, and they're going quite far on the inside. The athlete leading has led pretty much from the first buoy, really smooth, kind of stayed at the front, in control. No one's had that ability or speed to be able to get round him.
It's Dar Smith, the American, who was first out.
Oh, great swim for Dar Smith. He led that pretty much from the start.
Ozzano of Italy, very prominent. He definitely, I think, would fancy his chances today, the Italian, coming off for winning the European Sprint Championship.
Chris Perham up there as well as a European Aquathon champion.
And Kevin Vinuela, who we mentioned at the start, also an excellent swim from him in the top 10. So the leaders now going out on their bikes for a full lap ride. He's right there with Sagiv of Israel, trying to catch on to that little group of 4 or 5 in front. You'd think they've every chance of doing that.
McCluskey, Cantaro, so they're at the front of the chase group. They were the 2 athletes out, and looks like they're not willing to chase on their own. They're looking behind, waiting for some of the other athletes to come up.
Faldum in that group, Saxon Morgan of New Zealand also.
So back to the front. I think there was a couple up the road, but we've got them all back together now. Dar Smith still leading the front, really trying to get that group working. He's super motivated. Well, there's 2 groups, and this second group is large, isn't it? It's spread over the road. There doesn't seem to be too much urgency, especially not at the back of the group there. No,
and if that's the case, it doesn't bode well for them trying to catch those in front. We'll get much more of an idea when we hopefully get the timings when they come through transition. Is that the leader? That was the leader on the left? Yeah, that's the leaders
the other side. So there's a couple of athletes in the middle.
So first lap completed. First lap of 4.
Done well. I think they've got over 15 to 20 seconds there. So that's good for the first lap. They didn't have that much out of the swim, so they've done well, that front group, even though we've seen some of them aren't contributing to the effort at the front. Yeah, it's getting closer, isn't it? Look, they're not too far away now.
Yeah, and that's a massive psychological boost, isn't it? When they can see them, albeit they've still got some ground to make up.
This is such a different course from Carlo Vavari last weekend. We've gone from that hilly, hard Olympic distance where that strength, you know, that you need that strength on the run to run off the hard bike, to the opposite here where it needs to be so fast. So we do get different athletes kind of coming to the forefront depending on their abilities.
It's interesting, actually, that Karlovy Vary race, because everyone kind of thinks about the hill that's on every lap. But actually, there's like a 7K ride from when they come out of the lake to get into the town centre. And there are hills on that as well. So it's a really testing course.
And those athletes that did race that last weekend, probably still feeling it in the legs a little bit. And whether that's going to allow them to have that speed they're going to need, especially as it looks like it's all come together. Halfway through the bike, looks like those two packs are just merging.
It will be interesting to see whether we get one or maybe a couple of men that decide at some point, either on this lap or the final lap, just to maybe make a little dart, see if they can get themselves a few seconds of advantage. So more than 40 in this group. Got to be off before that line.
Some of them look close then.
Yeah.
They're coming at such a speed.
I never understand why they cut it so fine. It's just not worth it. 10-second time penalty if you're not off by the line.
There's one of the Italians there had a great run into transition. Not sure which one.
Decent transition for Faldon. So the majority of these men are now away. McCluskey of Australia is right on the shoulder of Cantero. This is good. Last year's winner and the man who won the first World Cup of the season this year. Up front, early. There's Sarazione, a little away back.
There's Baxter as well. I think, who else is in there as well? And the others, there's Gabor Feldham, Jenny Squirrel's up there as well. I think we did well. We mentioned a lot of these names, didn't we, before the start? We couldn't pick a winner, but we mentioned a lot who might be up there.
Yeah, well, most of the ones we mentioned are still in the mix at this point. It's early on the first lap, but the run's only 5K, so it is short, sharp, and flat.
I'd love to know the speed they've gone out at for this first kilometre. It's insane.
Well, they've thrown down the challenge, haven't they, David Cantero and Callum McCluskey?
Cantero's trying to get McCluskey to come through and help him. Italians not out of it, though. They're not letting that group get away. Mazzano just accelerating to try and get onto the back of the group. And it's just important not to lose contact, especially in this first lap. He wants to stay close enough. But to say on balance, though, if you go too deep, then you know you're not going to make it through the whole run. So, but if you can stay in contact, like keep that elastic there, then you know you've got a chance. I don't know if McCluskey can go through at this point. He looks like on the limit, doesn't he? But he's just really doing everything he can to stay on Cantero's heels.
Yeah, he's hanging tough at the moment. Yeah, when Baxter has a good day, he really has a good day. Won a silver in Tizzy last year. Won the World Cup in Pontevedra a couple of years ago. As David Cantero comes through to take the bell. 1 lap down, 1 lap to go. And the man who triumphed here last year is in front. He's got a gap to McCluskey, and there's a long way back to anybody else.
I'd say, well, Cantero might not have that sprint finish that he had from last year, but it's definitely not easy at this point. But he's managing to stretch out that distance. He's going to be gaining more confidence. He won't be able to hear McCluskey behind him anymore. He would have broken it, so that's always a good sign.
That is the battle for bronze. It's an all-Spanish affair. Baxter, Sarazione. You can throw a blanket over them at the moment.
It's good for Cantero now because he's going to turn and get eyes on McCluskey, see where he is.
I think he's quite a way up the road.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, I think it's an almost impossible task.
Yeah, that's a long way for them to catch, isn't it?
So it's going to be, by the look of things, a duel between the two Spaniards for the bronze medal. This man, unless something extraordinary happens, is going to claim a second successive gold here in Valencia. McCluskey keeping it going pretty well.
And this is going to mean a lot to him. He had that win at the start of the year, but really hasn't done much since then. So I think this will restore probably a little bit of confidence in his ability. So he said he did have some poor races after that win.
Well, what a performance this is. If you thought he was good last year, David Cantero, he's been even better this. In a sprint event, he's won incredibly easily. Made it look very, very simple. And for the second year running, David Cantero wins in Valencia. Time for a bow to the appreciative audience. He takes the tape in just shy of 50 minutes. And it looks like the sprint is on for the bronze as McCluskey comes across the line to get the silver. And it looks like Baxter gets the bronze ahead of Saratsianis. That's a great result for him.
Arnaud Mengel there from Belgium getting that 5th place. Rhys Vanassen getting, I think, 7th there. Really fast run from the American. I think he must have come from behind, actually, because he wasn't in that big pack at the front. Matthew Wright coming over the line, Fleury from Switzerland. So Azano got 6th, Vanassen got 7th. Good run from Leon Donnelly from Canada. Dennis Grau 9th, and Gabriel Feldman got into the top 10.
All my people, my family, my friends were here one more time to support me. I feel it, and they give me all the strength I need for the win. And I think it couldn't be better with my home and all the people I want.
I mean, looks like Valencia is a really special race for you, especially this year after 4th place, 5th place. How does it feel to win again a World Cup?
Yeah, for sure it feels really good. It hasn't been a really good season for me, but I think that victory gives me all the power and all the energy I need for the second part of the season. And I think always Valencia it's treating me good, and I think I couldn't be happier.
Let's talk a little bit about the race, especially the run. You and Callum went for it at the very beginning. Were you trying to just step away?
On the bike, I try to stay in the head part all time I could, and in the T2 I went on 2nd place. And then for the run, I knew that if I put a hard pace from the beginning, I could let them back and then just try to lead back Callum. And I think tactically I did the best I could do, and I'm so happy.
Callum, you said a couple of days ago that this was going to be a run race, and it was a run race. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's really good. David pushed me the whole way, and it was a really good showdown, I think. And yeah, I hope we put on a good show for the crowd.
And how does it feel? You did a podium in the World Cup at the very early season. Then season is long, I guess. But how does it feel to be back on the podium on the World Cup?
Yeah, well, the start of the season in Napier was really good, and I sort of haven't been able to match that performance throughout the year, and to come out in Europe and get another World Cup podium is really good, and I was able to perform under that pressure.
Let's talk a little bit about the run. You said that it was going to be a run race. You went with David from the very beginning. I guess that it was not easy to keep the pace with him, especially the last lap, no?
Yeah, he had a really good transition, so he probably had about maybe 6 or 7 seconds in front of me out of T2, and I had to catch that up, and I did. And I think that's sort of what I felt towards the end. He was able to push a little bit harder on the last lap, and I was sort of spent. So I think that sort of made the difference. But also, he's a really class runner, so it was really hard to stay with him.
This year has not been easy for you. We know that. How does it feel to be back on a podium?
Yeah, it feels great. I think last time on the podium was quite a while ago. It definitely wasn't this year. It just feels great to be back. I know where I belong, but as you said, it's been a hard year, and I've just not been able to string more than 5 weeks training consistently because of injuries, and I've just come from a virus, just been like 4 days in bed at home. So just super happy to be back on the podium, and especially on a home soil in Spain.
And let's talk about the run. You were with Serrat the whole way through, up until the last minutes. I guess that you guys were fighting for a bronze medal, knowing that silver was not going to be easy. Were you trying to leave him before the blue carpet?
I tried to leave him on the second lap going out, but yeah, he was very strong to run against. So he held on to my change of pace. And then, like, we both knew one of us was going to go home without a medal, and I just didn't want to be that one. So he really pushed the pace coming back on the last lap, and I thought, oh, there's not long to go, just got to hang on and then just give it all on the blue carpet, and came away with a medal, so super happy.
Saratsiani just out the medals today. Mengel, that's an excellent 5th place for Belgium. Mazzano, you always thought he'd be there or thereabouts, ahead of Vanassen of the US. Dennis Grau gets a top 10, as indeed does the evergreen Gabor Feldman. Bit further down, Perham ends up 22nd, and Dar Smith, who did so much work early on the bike after an excellent swim, 23rd in the end.
Representando a España, David Cantero.
Defended the title that he won a year ago. That was an Olympic distance. This was a sprint. Only his 4th race of the year. And he'll have his sights set on some more medals before 2024's out, because after he won this event last year, he took the silver in Tangiers. So a second successive gold for Cantero. McCluskey with the silver and Sergio Baxter with the bronze.